thank you, first off, for doing this with me and helping me finish my debate course in my senior year of high school. This is my first debate ever, so I apologize if I stumble on words or anything, but just giving you a heads up. So I'll start. Abortion is not necessary for women's health care because it fundamentally goes against what healthcare is. Healthcare is defined as efforts made to maintain or restore physical, mental, or emotional well-being, especially by a trained and licensed professional. And those licensed and trained professionals take the Hippocratic Oath, which says, "First, do no harm." Among these licensed professionals are abortionists, where the essence and purpose of their job is to utterly destroy the fetus and potentially harm the mother. If healthcare is supposed to maintain a life, why should this be considered a necessary part in women's healthcare? How is it maintaining a life when the sole purpose of an abortion is to destroy life? Murdering a human being is not healthcare, but caring for that human being and their mother is. Healthcare is a necessary aspect to human life, and I think that women do deserve healthcare, and that pregnant mothers do need healthcare too. But these women don't need death as part of it. When we say healthcare for women, are we also considering the children that are females killed in abortions? About half of pregnancies are female, which means that about half of abortions are female babies. This necessary part of healthcare for women is taking away the next generation of women. Abortions can also harm the mother in many different ways. Whether it's physically, emotionally, or mentally, it still hurts them. Isn't healthcare supposed to maintain or restore life? If it does, then why does it hurt the mother? It hurts her because it's not in any way healthcare. An abortion is in no way maintaining life. When talking about health for women due to abortions, people tend to look at the assumed fact that it benefits the mother, even if there are short-term side effects such as bleeding, infection, and/or re-evacuation. NHI.gov states that about 5% of women who have induced abortions have hospital-reported side effects. Let's look at the long-term side effects from abortion and see if they meet the healthcare standard. NHI.gov also talks about long-term side effects. They mention issues with future childbearing, fertility, and different pregnancy outcomes, as well as risk of breast cancer, mental health disorders, and premature death. They also state that if untreated, an abortion-related infection may increase the risk of subsequent ectopic pregnancy. Does that sound like healthcare? Remember, the purpose of healthcare is to maintain a life, not harm it. If abortion is necessary to healthcare, why are there so many negative side effects to it? Some emotional and mental side effects that women have and can get from abortion are stress, anxiety, depression, regret, anger, shame, loneliness, and poor self-esteem. I got all that information from a clinic that performs abortions in New Jersey on their website, gynchoicesofcentraljersey.com. They also say that receiving an abortion may also trigger insomnia or other sleep disorders, eating disorders, or suicidal thoughts. Some women, including women who were coerced to get abortion, may be more prone to experiencing mental health complications. These women search for therapy or counseling from this past trauma as well. How are all these side effects beneficial for women's health? How is trauma healthcare? Healthcare is taking care of a life right after conception and continues all throughout life, not causing death to an individual and causing mental problems for another. Now, as for healthcare, selective abortions are another story. I don't like calling them that, but a friend of mine who is a midwife said that abortion is a medical term and there are two kinds. The first is elective abortions, the ones we're debating today, which are done by abortionists when the fetus is alive. These abortions are designed to kill and force an early delivery of that murdered child. The other type is selective abortions. These are actual medical procedures to tend to a fetus that has either passed or is non-viable, as in miscarriages and ectopic pregnancies. Keep in mind, cases like ectopic pregnancies only make up less than 2% of pregnancies, according to health.ucdavis.edu. These procedures for selective abortions will still be available to women, even if abortions are banned, because they are medical procedures where the fetus involved is non-viable or has either passed due to natural causes. I also think that in order to understand abortions and if they are or aren't necessary for healthcare, we have to ask questions such as, by what standard should abortion be considered healthcare? How is abortion morally right? What is a human? When does life begin? And what makes a human life different from other living things on this earth? I do not believe all of this only because of my religion or personal opinions. I believe this also because the science behind it proves that abortion is murder and that it can harm the mother. I hope to convey this well in our debate and answer all these questions correctly and prove that abortion is not necessary for women's health care and that it does in fact cause damage to both souls involved.
Good.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey.
Tried to wave to you from over here, but you were so intense. Oh, is that
It is, but that's
Okay.
fine.
okay? You can edit it.
So I'm recording the audio too, but that's okay. Okay,
Good to see you. Good to see you too.
okay. Good speech, by the way.
Thank you.
Okay. So the debate is whether or not abortion is considered healthcare, right? And to talk about healthcare, we need to review some basic definitions. First is, what is the definition of healthcare, which is the maintaining restorative health by the treatment and prevention of disease, specially trained and licensed professionals such as medicine, dentistry, clinical psychology, and public health. The definitions from Merriam-Webster, I think you got it from the same as me. It does include treatment of medical conditions that are not diseases. Okay, so Deb wore a heart monitor for a few weeks after her surgery. That's considered to be a medical procedure. Healthcare also covers plastic surgery, which is not necessarily anything that would be could possibly threaten someone's life, but it's something that's still considered healthcare. And there are other various therapies as well as abortion. And we could have a whole conversation separate from this of what forms of contraceptive can be considered healthcare, because the pill does not stop conception. The only thing it does, it stops the egg from embedding into the womb of the uterus. So every time, if women are taking the pill, there are fertilized eggs that goes through a period if she had sex at that time. Now, the definition of medical procedure is a course of action intended to achieve a result in the delivery of health care. Medication can be considered for medical procedure. Blood pressure or cholesterol medication are taken at risk to avoid emergency visits to the hospital. It's had a huge impact on the longevity of my generation, our generation, because this medication's available and people are not going to the hospital because of as much as heart attacks or strokes or anything. The definition of medical procedure is a course of action intended to achieve a result in delivery of health care, and medication can be considered a medical procedure. Well, that was the other one. Definition of surgical procedure is a medical procedure involving incision with instruments performed to repair damage or arrest the disease in the living body. Now, definition of abortion is the termination of a pregnancy after, accompanied by, resulting in, or closely followed by the death of the embryo or fetus, such as spontaneous expulsion of the human fetus during the first 12 weeks of gestation, induced expulsion of the human fetus, or expulsion of the fetus by a domestic animal due to infection at any time during the completion of the pregnancy. Again, that's from Merriam-Webster. So, why would a woman have an abortion? Well, she has to face the issue for many reasons, and many of those conditions do not involve a choice based on birth control. You made a comment about it being selective versus elective. The general case is the general case. Abortion considered health care. That would cover both cases, not necessarily just one. Waiting for, if there is no heartbeat of the fetus, the water breaks early in pregnancy or other complications can put the woman's health at risk. And to avoid the risk of complications, they can either do a pregnancy either through the pill if it's early enough or an actual medical procedure. Sometimes the women decide to have an abortion for birth control. And I want to make sure it's clear that such a decision is not made willy-nilly. This is a serious, hardest decision a woman can make, and it depends upon her current situation, the relationship with their partner. Sometimes the partner is involved in the decision and sometimes not. I remember there was a guy that I used to work with who shared a story that his girlfriends, decades before, they constantly fight. She had an abortion. She broke with him and told him after she broke up with him that she had an abortion. The only thing that he was upset about was that he had no say to the abortion. And honestly, he was a jerk in himself. So I can understand why she'd want to spend the rest of her life raising a kid with him. So if you read through the technical and legal definitions, abortion is considered health care through the public eye, okay? There are safe procedures in the framework of healthcare providers worldwide that can help women decide to terminate a pregnancy if they so choose. And the debate becomes more of a moral issue. Who has the morality who decides to end the pregnancy? And I've always noted that a patient and a family should be making the life and death decisions with advice from doctors. I don't believe any type of government regulation should be involved. And those decisions are not taken lightly. Back in 1998, Terry Chavot case, which I'm not sure is before their time, I'm not sure it was before yours, was involved because the husband wanted to remove a feeding tube because she was in a vegetative state and the parents said no. And this was a legal battle that just went on for years. But what came out of that debate was the modern healthcare proxy. Because now, one of the first things, until now that you're 18, your parents make your healthcare proxies by default. Once you're 18, technically, you should actually get a healthcare proxy and assign someone to make those decisions if you're incapable of doing that, okay? But this is about life and death decisions. It's a similar framework and similar confrontation of what's going on with this. And I argue that the decisions of birth control, conception, and abortion are also decisions to be made by a woman with the family and doctors involved. Sometimes the decision is faced by a woman in her late 20s with one child already, but not ready for the next one. Sometimes the decision is faced by a young teen who's experimenting with sex that's gone a little bit too far. But having a baby when you're not even out of puberty isn't a way to start an adult life. That's why it's called pro-choice. I would agree that it is good that abortion services are available in the cases of rape and incest. There's also a difference between intimate and sexual encounters with someone and spending the next few decades sharing a life and raising a child. Having a single parent raise a child, or even more than one, is one of the greatest challenges for any adult, no matter whether or not it's done through choice or tragedy. And the far majority of those single parents are women. The other issue of abortion and birth control in general is that there are different options based upon the woman or family's health. A teenager who's living in the 26 states with abortion regulations and is living in a family with means could have available birth control or could afford a trip to another state where abortion is legal. On the other hand, low-income families with limited health insurance, if any, can't afford to travel out of state, and the poverty cycle continues since the woman finds herself a parent and cannot expand her own opportunities. So, if you don't, okay. Now, as far as adoption goes, which is another alternative, I've known 2 people who have put up children for adoption. And again, it's not an easy decision to make, okay? When I was at Blue Hills, a fellow high school student put her baby up for adoption in the 10th grade. In her senior year, she would be reliving the decision, wondering or not her child would actually forgive her for putting it up for adoption. Turns out, during the time I knew her in high school, she had abortions after that. And she was okay with the abortions, but it was the adoption that bothered her most. And then there's Karen and Sarah. Karen's Sarah's birth mother. We met Karen when she was 9 months pregnant with Sarah, and it was an open adoption. She knows us, we know her. When Sarah was young, the meetings were cordial. As Sarah was getting older, it really got strained, especially when Sarah was old enough to understand the term birth mother. Karen is still troubled today, wanting to be closer while Sarah is starting her own family. The choice put Sarah for adoption was the best choice possible for Karen and Sarah, but Karen still misses Sarah in her life. So in conclusion, any decision that involves life or death isn't easy and shouldn't be treated with respect and dignity. How can they make their choice is their right. The choice is primarily made by the woman, and there will be other opportunities for conception, but the choice to move forward with a pregnancy at that time, if not, can be made with the full available medical services available in our modern age to have them move forward. Okay?
Good, thank you.
Yeah. So,
All right, so now we have 46 minutes for rebuttals.
Okay.
So you will go first in your rebuttal.
Okay.
All right, do we want to reset the clock?
4 minutes. I'll cut it down.
You can set it for 6.
Okay.
But
Well, it's gonna kick off at 5 anyway. So
Okay.
Here we go.
You mentioned that therapy is related to abortion toward the beginning
Mhm.
of your statement. Could you clarify more on that?
Jenna, this isn't a time for questions. That can
Okay.
be in cross-examination.
Okay.
This is just a time for you to respond to things that he had said
Okay.
from your perspective.
Well, I personally don't think abortion is therapy. It's when I think of therapy, I think of something where you can, like, I have a friend who's in therapy, and her therapy with her therapist is just telling all of her life problems and just having a communication with somebody who you're not on a personal relationship with, if that makes sense. You're not related to them. They're not your best friend that you can go hang out with. It's somebody who you can talk to and just explain all your life situations and problems with. And I can also see therapy as something relaxing, so you can go get a therapy massage or something. It's relaxing. I don't see how abortion can be helping with relaxation or helping with vocalizing your life problems. I see it as if the woman is still struggling with her financial situation, or like you said, her partner situation, or capability of raising the child, I don't think that it is still right to kill that innocent human being in her womb that's just housing there for 9 months. Another thing that you said is abortion considers all occasions, not just one. When I mentioned elective and selective, there is a difference between those two abortions. It's not the same. One is the intention of murdering. The abortionist has the intention of sucking the fetus out, giving the pill, which is killing the child in the womb, slowly, just it's still murdering it, or going in and dilating the cervix, and then forcing an induced abortion, induced labor. And then the selective ones are those procedures for miscarriages, depending on how far along you are on term as well, or ectopic pregnancies. Those are done with D&Es and DNCs, just because it's a safer, sanitary way to clean out the already deceased fetus. There's no life in the womb at that moment, where with elective abortions there is a life in there. Let me see. Another one is, yes, I do believe that it is a moral issue with this debate. Everybody has their own standard. Everybody has their own view on what moral is right and what moral is wrong. I do believe that that is an issue with this too, is where there's the division with this. My moral with this is that it goes against God's law, and I'm gonna bring religion into this. It says in Exodus, when he's given the 10 Commandments, it says do not murder, and then there's other verses in the Bible, I have them written down too, where it's just he's talking about I knew you in your mother's womb, and that's saying that he created every living cell in your body when you were this big, just from the beginning. As soon as the sperm hit the egg, he knew you, and it means that it's a life there. Another one is when you brought up the teenager who's not ready for a baby but is experimenting with sex. We'll put it this way, there are safer options. There is protection. I don't necessarily agree with birth control, because some of those can lead to abortions, whether it's intentional or not. But there are other preventions. And the main one is don't have sex out of wedlock. It's a command in the scripture as well, and if we followed after God's word, wouldn't lead to women ending up with a child that they think that they can easily dispose of. Let me see. Another one is with the rape and incest. I do believe that rape is wrong, and I do believe that incest is wrong, and not only is it wrong, it's illegal. And I believe that there should be a higher punishment for those who commit it. It's not safe. It can't be safe because the intention of it is to violate a human's body. But I don't believe that in cases of rape or incest, the baby should also be violated. The fetus should. I don't believe that they should also be violated. You don't want to add trauma to more trauma, to put it. The trauma, as I mentioned, it's more seen in women who are coerced into having abortions, where it's more traumatic for them. And if the woman who was being coerced into the abortion was raped, or the pregnancy came from a case of incest, I do see that it's adding that trauma from being raped or through the incest period to having the abortion, which is more trauma. It's just adding more and more, and that's not safe mentally for the woman. That's not safe for the fetus if you're going to coerce her into it and encourage her to have it, which is not have the abortion, which is not kind to both bodies involved. And when you said that adoption is not easy, you made some good points. The mother will be wondering, will my child still accept me into their life? Can I still have a part in their life? Can I still meet them? Will they want to meet me? Can I have an opportunity to see them? And I do see how that can be a struggle too, but personally I think that putting the child up for adoption is a lot better than taking that child's life away from them. I think that they should get a chance to live, like Sarah. She has a chance to live now, and she has a chance to have her own family. And that's amazing that her mother decided to give her that opportunity to live instead of taking it away from her. And Sarah can now have kids, and she's pregnant with a baby now, and that's her child coming, and your next grandchild coming. And it's a beautiful thing, pregnancy, but the adoption situation is better than murdering, even though it's still difficult for the mother of the child, because they build that connection when the child is in the womb. They build that mother-child relation already. And I think that's touched on everything.
That was 8 minutes anyway.
It was 8?
It was 8.
Okay.
It's okay.
Yeah,
The timer
sorry.
was set.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Okay, so as far as some of the things that you were saying, so so Sarah had a miscarriage a couple of years ago, and it was basically she went in for a regular test, and there was no heartbeat, and she had to take the pill to induce an abortion to pass the fetus. And that the problem where we're facing today in our society, specifically in the 28 states that have tougher regulations against abortion, is that the women is even at greater risk now because of carrying the child in case things happen later on in the pregnancy, because there is a lot of doctors that basically consider anything involving an abortion as a medical minefield, as far as different, because no one knows what's allowed and what's not. Okay, who said that there was no heartbeat? I mean, we're going to get down to that at some point. Okay, you're going to have a rich kid that is going to have an abortion because there was no heartbeat, and and there's going to be some comments saying, oh, I thought I heard a heartbeat or something like that. And that's going to come out of Texas in the next couple of years, because they're the ones that put up the tightest regulations for abortion. And you know, the harm that the abortion can do to the women is let's see, there can be complications from any medical procedure that you go into. Nothing is guaranteed to be clear and 100% effective. That includes abortion. So there are definitely some other conditions that need to be taken into account, and based upon what was the time when the abortion was, when it finally happened versus how long it was along, there could be more side effects and stuff like that. But this is when the person makes the decision to have an abortion, it's a serious decision that's not made off the cuff. And when you're saying that the child is just housing there for 9 months, I kind of disagree with that statement, because it can't live on its own. It is effectively, it is living off the mother. It's not just housing for 9 months. And this is not something that gets easily disposed of, okay? And, if a woman got raped and is forced to carry the child for 9 months, then this is something that is going to be bothering her during that time, knowing that the person, that she was assaulted for this conception to happen, okay? And I think that adds more trauma to trauma. Where if on the other hand, she took, in many cases, in the case of abortion, here, take a pill, just in case. You don't know whether or not you're pregnant or not, but because there was a rape involved, they're having you take the pill now, just so that you don't know, it's something that you can get through and get by, and then that's it, okay? So, and this is, the whole idea of, the morality of abortion, or when does life begin? Those are the real issues that we're always going to be confronting in mankind, okay? But, the harm to the mother is something that can be an issue. But like I've said, the people that I've seen who've had put people up, kids up to adoption or have completed it, there are other, psychological issues that the mother would have to be able to face and confront, even if the child was born. An unwanted child is not a good framework to raise a child. Oops. Yes. So I think it's the therapy. I've had physical therapy for wrists, shoulders. I've had psychological therapy myself for and it's the therapy is and I'm talking about framework. If it's a surgical procedure, that's not therapy. The pill, on the other hand, is effectively a procedure and a therapy for a situation. I mean, so that's pretty much what I have to say as far as response goes. So, okay. Now, questions and answers?
Yeah, do either you need a second? You got enough water? You good?
Good.
Okay. Yeah, so 6 to 8 minutes on cross. This one side asks the other questions.
Yep.
And the other side responds. It's not a question really, it's
Yep.
question and response.
Question, response.
Yes, yeah.
That's fine. Oh, by the way, that book is really good. I ended up watching The Great Debaters, the Denzel Washington movie.
Oh yeah.
With Forrest Whitaker. What an amazing movie.
It's called The Great Debaters?
It's in the book. It's in like the first chapter of the book. It was like, wait, there's a Denzel Washington movie I haven't seen yet. It's amazing. It's about Wiley College, a little black college in the South that basically kicks ass with their debating team.
Really?
Oh, it's a great book. It's a great movie. Yeah,
I'll have to check that out.
yeah. So, but you
All
can
right,
go first.
time
What was
to
the
go
first question?
Alright, first question.
Yeah, good.
How is, you related how that, medication and medical procedures are to repair damage or like clear out a disease. If you call an abortion a medical procedure, how is that repairing damage and how is it clearing a disease?
So a medical procedure doesn't necessarily, so there's medical procedures and surgical procedures, okay? Surgical procedure requires actually entering the body or something like that. So if it's a pill, then that's more of the medical procedure. The surgical procedure would be effectively going in and, terminating the fetus and processing the DNC to clear them, to clear out the uterus and everything. So that's pretty much how I would describe it. No matter what, the conditions are basically what happens if, and there's, you said it to extend your side, the fetus is terminated or killed or whatever, but then after that, the cleanup procedure after that is something that is used within abortions as well as miscarriages. Okay, and the problem that we're having now with this great debate that's going on is that it's become, there's now becoming a more gray area what's considered to be an abortion and what's being considered a miscarriage. Because there has been plenty of women in prior ages that would basically perform their own miscarriage, either falling down a flight of stairs or something to because they didn't want to carry the child, and that, if abortion is made illegal, then the only thing that will happen is abortions will be made behind the back doors, the back rooms. Someone who, you're still going to have people that will decide not to have an abortion based upon their situation. Sorry, your next question. Oh, actually, my question then.
No, she'll ask her questions and then you'll have.
Right, but she asked the first question, right?
No, she'll have a question. She'll have time to question you, and then you'll have your time to question her.
Right.
It's not like back and forth. She has her time of questioning you.
Oh, okay. Then
She's gonna ask all her questions.
all the questions.
And then you
Got
ask
it.
all your
Okay.
questions.
Okay. Sorry. No,
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Okay, I guess my next question would be then, what is a fetus? In your definition, what would a fetus be?
A fetus is an embryo that is still within the womb of a woman.
Okay, so then what would an
Or
embryo?
a female, because fetuses also apply for animals as well.
Okay, then what would an embryo be?
Fertilized egg.
Okay, and then what does it mean when an egg is fertilized? Like, what does that start the process of?
So fertilizing the egg basically starts the mechanisms, the beginnings of life. Okay, but it doesn't necessarily mean that life will reach independence.
So then would it still be okay to take away that life of that fertilization? Wouldn't that still be considered murder? Because isn't the definition of murder taking
No.
away someone's life?
No, because it's not a someone.
Okay, let me see.
So, to be clear, I believe the decisions of life and death belong in the family, and no outside intervention should be involved. And it doesn't matter which end of the spectrum you're at, the beginning or the end.
And then let me see. You said something about how it's when you were coming back about when I said that it's housing there and it's all a matter of dependency. Would you say that a 2-year-old is still dependent upon the mother?
No, a 2-year-old can be dependent on other people,
Including the mother?
possibly, but not exclusive.
So then,
Mother might be completely out, the biological mother may be completely out of the picture.
okay, well, still, what about adoptive mothers? Would you say that they're still dependent on their adoptive mothers? Or foster parents? They're still, those are their acting parents, would they still be dependent on them? As a 2-year-old or 1-year-old even?
So after birth, okay,
Mhm.
there's a whole bunch of rights that are given to a person upon birth,
Mhm.
okay? And that includes if the child is killed after birth, someone can be put away for murder for that case, okay? But that at this point, it starts at the point of birth, because before that, they're completely 100% dependent upon the mother, no one else.
So then I guess that brings me to my next question. I don't know if you've seen this video going around of this New Mexican woman New Mexico woman who was into the hospital with lower back pain. She was 9 months along, full term, went into the bathroom, didn't tell anybody, gave birth to the baby, put it in the bottom of the trash can, and put the trash bag over it. The police officers and the doctors later found that baby deceased. What makes it different than if she was to have gone to an abortion clinic, had an abortion, say 5 minutes ago, before going into the bathroom and giving labor, to killing the baby then, to killing the baby, having it be considered murder when the baby was born, and having it be considered murder 5 seconds later? Like, why is that time difference so valuable?
So in that case, I have not seen the video, but I have heard the story.
Mhm.
Okay. The mother in this case, obviously has a bunch of mental issues, including denial. It's tough to deny that you're pregnant when you have something kicking inside you. Okay. So forget about lower back pains and all that stuff. She knew she was pregnant and she was trying to get, but she also didn't have any other place to go. Okay, so she was denying that she was pregnant in that case, and I think that the tragedy that happened in that situation isn't just with the child that got killed, but with the mother who had to go through that, and also I think that was and also with how did the mother actually get to that point in her life where she was 9 months pregnant, and she was denying that she was pregnant. I mean, she didn't have her period for 9 months. She's got a fetus kicking inside her. I mean, Sarah's feeling it now, and she's only 3 months along. So there is more to that than that. She has a lot of issues. Okay. And the difference in that is just as much of a, compared to an abortion, is that at least if she went to an abortion clinic 6 months earlier, she would not have been facing jail time right now. Okay. And she shouldn't have got, there's a point where if the child is viable on their own, then I'll debate whether or not abortion is appropriate or not. That's where I draw my own personal line. But that case in particular is just a travesty of social issues, as well as the situation that she felt she had nothing else to do, nothing else she could do. That's terrible. To say that you gave birth to a child and you don't want to care for it, you don't want to take care of it, you just want to throw it away. Okay, how did she get to that point in her life where she was that hopeless? That's the true tragedy.
Is that time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
You good?
You good?
I think so. If
Okay.
there's another chance to go back and forth, I will.
There isn't in the structure. I can give you one more question just because of the uncertainty in the beginning. If you want one more question.
Sure.
That's fine. So then I guess my next question would be, you said a couple of seconds ago that viability of the child, what's the difference between it being 9 months along to 6 months along? What's the difference between that, or the dependency, and then between 6 months to when she could have gone and gotten the abortion and wouldn't have faced jail time, to 9 months, had the baby, and can now face jail time? And what's the difference between the dependency of the baby in her womb? It would have been okay to kill at 6 months versus now that it's out and it's still very much still dependent on the mother at a couple hours old. What's the difference between that? If that question makes sense, I can word it differently.
I think I understand what you mean. The difference is basically once birth has been completed, once there is birth, then the child is no longer dependent directly on the mother. Okay? The child is dependent on someone, but not necessarily the mother. It could be other people. I mean, we brought Sarah home from the hospital. Okay? So, literally, Karen said hi, we kept in contact with her, but Sarah spent her first night here after she was born. Okay? Doesn't necessarily mean that she was dependent on Karen anymore. She was dependent on us. Okay? In the case of the woman in New Mexico, she did not want to relinquish control. Even though she could have walked out with the baby in her hands and said, I don't know what to do. But she didn't do that. She made a conscious decision again to hide it. And putting in the trash was not necessarily to murder, but putting in the trash was to hide it. Because she was hiding the whole thing, all 9 months. Okay? I don't agree with her decision, okay? But that was, that's an example of basically how a decision can have repercussions when not proper, contraceptive care is provided to, people who don't have the knowledge, the money, or the information to know what to do. So I think that was a complete tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Okay, got a question for you. So, first off is, in your comments and debate, you refer to the Bible and your religious beliefs as your foundation for this decision. Okay, so what if people have other religious denominations that disagree with you? Don't they have? Are you trying to enforce your beliefs on them?
No, I'm not forcing anything on them. I'm not. If it was supposed to be, I'm not forcing them to give birth. I'm not forcing them to carry the pregnancy. It was their decision to get pregnant. We'll put it that way. It was their decision to get pregnant. Their reproductive right. It was their decision to get pregnant with that. So I'm not forcing that on them, and I'm not forcing my belief. I'm stating, in a bigger sense, I am stating facts, because the Bible is true. The Bible is truth. It is God spoken. These people with other denominations and other religious upbringings would get, in a sense, that God spoke his word into existence and that it's true. Now, whether they have different versions or anything, it's God's word that's still true. So it's still facts, commands, and truth that us as his creation, created in his image, should still abide by.
Okay, so you're saying that they decided to get pregnant. Okay.
Yep.
Women get pregnant unintentionally all the time.
How?
Oh, through sex.
He has the
Yeah.
questions.
Sorry.
Through sex. Okay, but the point is that they had no intention of getting pregnant. You do have incest. You do have rape. You do have even if you, if you, not all contraceptive is 100% effective. You know, the pill is like 98% effective. A rubber is 80% effective, and they can fall off in the middle of, you know, all that fun stuff. But in any case, it goes back to, you know, it's not a choice.
Do you have a question?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I didn't think she answered it right the first time, so I'm giving her a second chance. Women may not have a choice that they're pregnant now, and they don't necessarily follow your religious beliefs. So if you're saying that abortion is not health care, then are you in fact stopping them from getting access to health care that they consider themselves to actually have a right to?
No,
And
It's-
why not?
so it's still not their healthcare. Like I said, I do think pregnant mothers need healthcare, but not in the sense of an elective abortion.
But you're saying that you're okay for them to have health care, but not an abortion, even though their beliefs are that they have a right to an abortion. You're still saying they don't have that right.
Because it's not their body at that point. It's not their body that needs the healthcare. It's the fetuses, which is in Latin, fetus means
So do you
living
believe?
little child.
So do you believe that the fetus has more rights than the mother?
No, I'm saying they both have equal rights.
Then who makes the choice?
It's science. The babies.
No.
Are their own-
Science is a process. I'm talking people. Who
A fetus
makes
is a
the
person.
decision? Who makes the choice to have an abortion or not? A person, not science, but who is the person that makes that choice, whether or not to have an abortion or not?
So then that brings it down to the whole argument, my body, my choice, where I would say, in the sense of being pro-life, that it's not your body at that point. It's not. You can't have a decision to go and kill a living being. Say you're already a mother and you have your 2-year-old, or even like a 5-month-old. Say you have your 5-month-old and they are aggravating, they're crying all the time, they're doing this. Is it still your choice at that point to be like, I don't want it anymore? Is it still your, like, if it's in your body, it can't make decisions on its own. Even if it was like 5 months old, it can't have a choice. But as a person, it needs people to stand up for it. As a fetus, it needs people to stand up for it so that its choice of life is given, instead of the mother being like, I don't want any opinions, it's my body it's my body, I can go and do what I want with it, I can choose what to do with it. And it's not her body, it's its own being in her body, again, being dependent on her to grow, get nutrition, and become even more visible as a human being in order to get its own voice and opinion and choice.
So you don't think that the mother has a choice to have an abortion, that the fetus takes precedence, the life of the fetus takes precedence over the mother?
It's its own, again, it's its own being. It has its own.
Simple yes or no answer, right? Who takes precedence? Is it the life of the fetus or the life of the mother?
They both get their own say.
No, they don't.
They're both separate beings.
Who makes the decision? The fetus can't decide, right?
That's why I said it needs voices like pro-life people to stand up for it.
Which means
to
that
protect it.
that means that the society makes decisions for the individual, which would be the pregnant mother. That's what, because if you're saying that it's the outside crowd that is standing up for the fetus, then is that in fact society making the decision for the mother?
I'll put it this way. We're not forcing the mother to not get the abortion. We're not forcing her to do this. We are telling her and trying to...
This is the fun part, I'm sorry.
It's okay. We are telling her that it is its own being. we are telling her that it's not really your choice because it's its own being. It should have its own choice, but it's not. It can't speak yet because it's still internal. It's still growing.
So you're relinquishing control of the mother over her body for the fetus, for the right of the fetus.
It's not her body. It's
okay.
So
this is now 26 states now saying that this is an issue. So this is really, it's good timing to have this debate done. But this is what it boils down to, right? Back to the healthcare proxy. Okay? At some point, probably within a couple of years, you're gonna have some lawsuit about someone that is got an abortion done because they detected a heartbeat and there wasn't one. Okay? In the same vein, the healthcare proxy was put in place so that the government doesn't get involved in life or death decisions with people and family members. And who should make that decision? Should it be the family, members of the family, or should it be society? And that's where I draw the line. I believe in personal rights and the rights of the individual and the family with the assistance of the doctors to make a decision. So it seems that what you're saying basically is that if a woman is pregnant, then as long as she is pregnant, her body's not her own.
Her body has its own functions. Her body is nurturing the body of another being.
Right. Which may or may not have been an elected decision. A decision, she could have been raped, could have been incest.
So why is that, if it was rape or incest, why is that being inside her's life less valuable than hers? Even if she went through that trauma. That's what it's all coming down to, is if she was raped and that baby, it was a product of it, it has nothing to do with what its father did. It has nothing physically.
It does.
It came from it.
Yeah,
His sperm
DNA
attached to it.
Right.
It's just DNA though. It's DNA. It's not. The baby's not going to come out being like, "Mom, my dad did this to you, so look at me." It's not gonna be like that. It's its own being. Yes, the DNA could be more of his side, so it could tend to look more like her offender.
Right.
And that could be traumatic, but in all sense, it's not her offender. It's its own being. It's a product that came from it, and it's its own life. So if it was rape, in a sense, if it was rape or incest, she still shouldn't get rid of the life that came from it. She shouldn't. It would be murder.
Okay, that's your view, right? Okay, but there are other people that have other views. Okay, and my concern is that those other views, if you were involved in something like that, just to let you know, if hypothetically you get caught up and end up getting pregnant from someone that you did not want happen, okay, I would support any decision you make because I feel it's your decision, your choice, okay? And the same thing holds true if you decided to have an abortion. I'd support that as well, okay? It's not an easy decision to confront when you confront it, okay? And what I don't appreciate with some of the comments coming back, not just from you, but from others, is just like, it's like, they'll just have an abortion anyway. It's not that easy to make that type of choice, okay? There was a woman, friend of Sarah's, she was living with her boyfriend, they had one kid, he was abusive, she left him, she was pregnant, she had an abortion because she left him and she didn't want to have another child because of what was going on, and things like that go on. They're not easy decisions to make either way, but my key is I don't want to see society making decisions that should be made by the mother, okay? And that's where the next step is going to be, because, you know, between the doctor and the patient, that's a very confidential conversation. And, you know, if they both agree that there was no heartbeat, then they could do a procedure to have, to take care of the abortion, you know. But that doesn't necessarily mean there was or was not a heartbeat. It's just that those are the ones that decided there was or was not a heartbeat. So, and you're gonna see that happening in the states where abortion is now illegal. So, I think
Alright.
Duncan wants to come in.
Yeah.
Just make sure Bootsy doesn't sneak out.
Come on.
Yeah, it's just,
I just wanted the door open.
I just want people to acknowledge my existence.
yeah. He does that a lot.
All right, excellent. Now, closing statements. 3 to 5 minutes.
Okay.
Starting when you're ready.
Mine?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna start my closing again with saying thank you for doing this. This was a good experience to help me with future debates that I'll come across with people. Help me get to see more sides, more of the view of the of your standpoint, and what other pro-choice people would stand for, just in that umbrella. It was very informative, thank you. It also helped, this debate also helped me to learn more through my research about my standpoint as well, and what it is I stand for, and how to debate, and have good arguments with people about the differences between all of this. And I just wanted to end on the note that I do believe that abortion is and will still be morally wrong, and that it will continue to be murder whenever a woman has an abortion, and that I see it personally as a tragedy in this world that these children growing inside the womb are killed just because they are there, and I won't ever see it as something to rejoice over. If a friend of mine went and got an abortion, I wouldn't shun her away. I would still show her love and stuff, but I wouldn't agree with that decision she made, because it was a life. I still see it as a life, and I still see it as a wrong from a moral standpoint, in that I believe that something morally wrong can't and shouldn't be considered healthcare. It's different between elective and selective, but the elective ones should not still be considered healthcare, especially when it is a murder. And that murder shouldn't be necessary to help a woman, and it shouldn't be necessary to help anyone in life for their convenience. And that healthcare shouldn't be taking an innocent life, even with its level of dependency and where it's located. That shouldn't be a case to kill somebody, and that it shouldn't be taking that innocent's life just because they can't stand up for themselves for it, and that abortion is a moral issue, and it's not just a preference for people. I do believe it all is based on your standards, and what you view as the morality of it, and that we have to understand that it's not just a personal opinion. It's more of like set in stone of what people think it is, and whether it's right or true or false facts. It's what it is, and that my moral still is that it isn't healthcare, it is murder, it is taking away a life that has the chance to live and prosper in this world. And that's it.
Okay. Okay, so in closing, this is one of our age's great hotly contested issues. But if you look at surveys and organizations like Pew Research and Gallup polls, they show overwhelming support for the right to choose, where Pew Research poll has been going on since 1995, and the Gallup poll since 1975. And if you want to see the numbers, I can print them out for you too. The numbers constantly run in the upper 50s or 60% in approval during abortion during that time. It's not all conditions abortions, but they got 3 scales: all or nothing, which is the 2 extremes, and then in some medical cases and everything with some constraints. It's interesting to note, though, that in the latest Pew Research poll, 75% of white evangelicals are against abortion, while 84% of those unaffiliated with any religion support choice. So, there is a religious opinion as part of this as well. And I found a one-page piece of literature published by the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops that states that the treatment of miscarriages are not related to abortion. I'm not sure if I trust medical care about conceptions to a group of old celibate white men. But the fact is that CNN reported in April that The Lancet, which is a British medical publication, did a survey in Oklahoma after the Supreme Court ruling and found specifically 65%, 22 of the 34 hospitals, were unable to provide information about policies, procedures, or support provided to doctors when it's clinically necessary to terminate a pregnancy in order to save the life of a pregnant patient. So in the states where abortion is legal today, anyone who's involved in any type of these procedure risks going to jail. And you made a very good difference in definition between selective and elective treatments. That's where the gray area has gone into. What is the choice between those two? And you're going to see in the news over the next couple of years, this is where people are going to say, oh, it was selective, oh, it was elected, and that's where the grayness is coming in. And the people who have the money and the wherewithal, like if there's a 16-year-old that gets pregnant and daddy's making money, he's going to make sure she finishes school and probably doesn't have a kid and takes care of her. And if they have to go out of state, they go out of state. That's going on today, unfortunately. I mean, this is not a speculation. There's constant records of, there was the woman in Ohio that admitted doing an abortion to a 10-year-old who had got pregnant through incest. And she processed the abortion. She got fined $3,000 for admitting that she did the abortion. Okay? And it was a case of incest of a 10-year-old. Okay? So this is, these are not, this is not a simple question. And I hope you never get yourself in a situation when you have to make this type of choice. And I'm serious about that. But a choice like that is not something that any woman would want to confront. Okay? And I think that this is something that is also an issue that is unfortunately being used to divide the country. And I think that has to do with the politics of divisiveness versus, cooperation. And I don't like that either. So that's enough for me. Very good. You did good.
That was very well done, both of you. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
That was.
I got 2 things.
Yeah.
Okay. First is, this has nothing to do with abortion, but everything to do with debates and politics, right? I came, I have an engineering